While here at Spector Creative, I try to do my best to keep my pulse on the action figure fan community to know what everyone's talking about and what people might be asking questions about for video topics. I can't be everywhere all the time. Yet. Which is why I'm so glad Roy down in South America is awesome enough to send me images and info about some of the latest releases and questions fans have. And once again, he came through and forwarded me the images of the latest Mattel releases for Masterverse and Origins. And yeah, it's very exciting that Princess of Power is going to be at retail again. That's crazy. I mean, they did have Princess of Power at retail briefly for the new Netflix show, but that bombed. And I'm especially excited about Zodak. I think this is going to be the first Masterverse figure I get. I've always liked Zodak, and I really like what they've done with him. I love the whole gun holster. I'm big on holsters if you've seen Mighty Spector. And it's interesting to see that Hordak, when he was shown, I didn't realize he was going to be a deluxe figure. I kind of actually, maybe they have revealed that, but I feel like this is coming about of, well, I wouldn't call it out of left field, but both Hordak and She-Ra, the other Princess of Power figure, are getting the deluxe treatment, which obviously they need because of the piece count, but man, the price point on these figures is just like might as well just invest in classics, right? I mean, they're pretty much the same price on eBay. And it's interesting that Hordak doesn't have a Horde sticker, but a Princess of Power sticker. So, go figure. But hey, why not? At least we're getting two different She-Ra heads, and neither one have a hole in them. More's the pity. And the other Masterverse figures from the other Netflix show, the one for kids, are getting the more collector, highly articulated 30 points treatment, and I love this. I think this is actually the best thing about Masterverse because it's showing how this line isn't just about one style or one version of the property, the franchise. It could be anything, which is great because there's so many versions of the property that would work great as toys. Man, I really hope kids get into these lines. I mean, we know they're going to be into this one, right? I mean, if any toy line that's out right now for He-Man is doing well, it's this one. It's the only one that never gets put on sale. That's kind of how you know how something is doing. When you see toy lines going on sale, that's usually an indicator that it's not clicking along at the right pace. All right, the big reveals, though, were for Origins, where we got Koldar, who's one of the more obscure Filmation characters who's never had a He-Man toy, ever, which is pretty awesome. And crazy because, again, the whole licensing rights and Filmation access, but it's great to know that Mattel has access to that. I would really love to know what's going to happen in 2023. Are they going to get the property in full? Who knows? All right, then the other one is Wun-Dar the Savage He-Man, which personally for me is kind of crazy because this is a character, I did not invent this character, but I helped create the backstory in order to make him a legitimate actual character in the line as opposed to a repaint. And if you're wondering, like, what the heck am I talking about? Who is this guy that looks like He-Man with a black version of Zodak's vest and laser gun? Well, actually, it's not exactly an easy question because there's a lot of different versions of this character. The one that you're seeing here for Origins is the version from Classics. Classics was the only time this figure has been released as Wun-Dar and sold in a package that way. For years, this character, essentially, naked He-Man with brown hair, was known as the Wonder Bread He-Man. It's one of those kind of pop culture myths, sort of like, that Mr. Burns is an alien. Well, for years, for decades, no one knew where this figure came from, if it was a fake, if it was part of this buy three, get one free offer that Mattel offered in the past, and a lot of people thought it was an offer related to a mail-away with Wonder Bread. And they even made custom versions of this figure using, Wonder Bread logos and branding on the package. And many YouTube videos and even, Netflix shows about toys have spotlighted this figure because it's been one of the biggest mysteries especially of Masters of the Universe and really all 80s toys. One of the things about it is the fact that it's so easily faked because you could just take a regular He-Man figure and repaint him. Brown hair, black boots, black belt. Now, there are lots of ways to tell if you have a fake, and fans have spent many hours posting videos and now images thanks to this internets thing we have where you can, share things online. So you can kind of tell whether or not you're dealing with a fake or not. And in fact, I even did an episode of Toy Hunters where I reviewed a sample that Jordan brought and looked at whether or not it was a fake figure. It's easy to fake too because in the weapon pack, which was released, this is the source of both the black gun and the black version of Zodak's armor, the one with that E on it, if you will. or W, depending on your point of view. When the figure actually shipped, and this was a legitimate Mattel product, it shipped, there was no vest and there was no gun. It was naked He-Man, or naked except for his loincloth there, with the weapons. But it was not a Wonder Bread promotion. It was part of the buy 3, get 1 free. It was a, buy 3 He-Man figures, and this is what Mattel sent you, was they sent you this version of He-Man, which was just, it was not named, it was just sent to you. Now, not to toot my own horn, but, well, maybe I will, I did solve the mystery about a year ago on this channel. You can check out the video, I'll link it at the end, where several sources from the 80s confirmed finally where this figure came from. So when it showed up in the mailbox, when you bought 3, got 1 free, this is what you got. You got He-Man without a vest and with a few repainted weapons, which was also gone over in the original pitch. You can also see it in this video, which I'll link at the end, where during the original retail pitch, executives talked about how there would be a 9th mail-away figure in addition to the 8 figures that premiered. And of course, when you do a mail-away figure, usually you always do a repaint because that's going to be, no tooling. And he came with less things, like no vest, so that it could be a very inexpensive figure as a giveaway. Well, this didn't go over too well, especially with one mother, and she wrote a very angry letter saying how disappointed her kids were that the mail-away figure wasn't an original character. It was just a random repaint of He-Man. So Mattel executives responded by quickly pulling the figure from the promotion and filled remainder of it with whatever was the next figure lying around that was carded, and that's what people got. The remaining stock of the loose figures were distributed at grocery stores and national promotions, and then the remaining weapons were shuffled off to the next figure in production, which happened to be Man-E-Faces, which is why there's a variant of Man-E-Faces floating around, the very first release of him, where he came with a limited offer noting free weapons. These were the weapons intended for the Savage He-Man giveaway, but after he was pulled, after that angry letter from a mother, well, it made sense to shuffle the weapons away, not store them. For Classics, which was supposed to be about, paying homage to everything MOTU, we did this figure as a exclusive for the subscription, and it was a little bit of a joke figure because it was kind of recognizing this character that had been around, but at the time when he came out in Classics, we still didn't know if this was actually legitimately a Mattel toy or if it was a bootleg, a fake. No one, was it tied to Wonder Bread? All of that came out years later, and as in line with what Classics was all about, not being a joke, but, doing those little nods to fandom, we put the Wonder Bread 3 circles at the bottom of his armor. It's not actually the Wonder Bread logo, it's just, 3 circles that maybe make you think of Wonder Bread. And, yes, I'm the one who came up with the name Wun-Dar as a pun of Wonder Bread, because at the time, it was assumed it was a Wonder Bread promotion, and I didn't realize that I was stealing the name from one of the giants from Game of Thrones, which wasn't going to come out yet for another year or two. So, hey, at least, my ability to predict the future and pop culture was in line. An original bio, an original package. Again, the idea was making this character, who was just assumed to be either a bootleg or a mystery, a legitimate marketable character in the franchise, so that maybe one day, if there was another He-Man line, he could be sold. And it blew my mind when this character showed up in the latest animation, the Netflix Masters of the Universe Revelation. He was one of the He-Men of legend. Now, when you have a tool, when you've invested in a tool as a toy company, you want to get as many decos out of it as possible, because that's what amortizes the expensive cost. So it makes sense that this figure would wind up as a promotional figure, like he was back in the 80s, or as a fan club exclusive, which it was for Masters of the Universe Classics. Now, this figure is getting a legitimate retail release, which is crazy. It's like a figure Mattel wouldn't even recognize for years. When I was going through the archive looking for any information to prove this was true, the only thing I found was a letter from Val Staples from He-Man.org asking who this figure was. It was actually put in the binder in the archives. It's the only thing that came up under this figure was Val Staples' letter and an image he sent in. So the fact that it's now going to be at retail with the name Wun-Dar, which again came from Classics, which was my attempt to legitimize this figure, I kind of thought Mattel would just call him the Savage He-Man, because he has nothing to do with Wonder Bread. And that was why we named him Wun-Dar at the time, because, we thought it was funny. Okay, I thought it was funny. There was no we. But, hey, He's legit now, and even though it's been proven that this figure had nothing to do with Wonder Bread, it looks like the name is now permanent and is stuck. I thought they would kind of rename him now that they've known that Wonder Bread has nothing to do with it. And this toy that we could never get as kids, a packaged Wun-Dar on a red, and blue Masters of the Universe card back, is now a reality. And to me, that is absolutely mind-blowing and so cool. And man, I hope this line can continue and kids will get into it, because more things like this. Let's make more legitimate figures out of concepts and turn them into marketable characters, because that is how you keep a brand strong. Well, hope you enjoy your Wun-Dar. I know I will. I'll probably definitely be picking up this Origins figure. Hope you enjoyed this. Please do share it with others who may want to explore the mystery that is Wun-Dar the Savage He-Man. Thanks for watching, and leave your comments below. I'll always swing by and answer as many as I can. Thanks again, and I'll see you next time.